What's up, guys? Winter Kills. We're back with yet again another deck discussion or archetype discussion video. And today, if you cannot tell already, this is going to be a discussion on the Qliphort archetype, the new pendulum archetype that is, in my opinion, going to be in the upcoming formats. The best deck to play, and basically the main point of this video is to discuss whether or not will this deck become tier 0, much like Dragon Rulers and Spellbooks were when they were in their prime. So basically, the Qliphort archetype is obviously a pendulum based deck, which is it's a very efficient, very fast paced deck which can spam the board with huge monsters, you know, every turn, and can tribute summon for massive, you know, what seem almost impossible to get rid of monsters like QLIPHORTS Towers. And of course, this set for the new challenger, we received their first round of support, which consists of QLIPHORTS Towers, Qliphort Shell, Qliphort Disc, Qliphort Carrier, Qliphort Helix, and Qliphort Scout. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this deck. I'm sure most of you may hate this deck, and whether you think that the whole pendulum mechanic is something that just should have never been put in the game, because kind of throws off, like, just, you know, you have your Shaddoll and your Burning Abyss, and a lot of people think those decks are fast, but, you know, you have a deck like this where if you get 2 cards in the right scale, you can just go ahead and special summon everything and just have a, you know, jamboree, what have you, just ravaging your opponent with these massive boards that you can come out. And then you tribute for these bigger monsters like Disc and Towers, and then you just plus even more. And now, the other support cards that people have been running with this deck is Summoner's Art to search out the tool, or which search out the Scout, which then you pay 800 to search more Qli cards, which it doesn't have to be any monster, it could be any spell or trap card. And for this round of support so far, you know, your only searches are obviously all the monsters, as well as Laser Clip, the field spell, Sacrifice, Climate Change, and Clipper Launch are all the Qli card targets for this card right now. Obviously, we'll be getting another round of support soon, and I'll be discussing that just a moment. But, you know, a lot of people have been playing the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, which I think, again, in the end phase pops itself, and then you get to search any Pendulum card. So just in case you're not drawing into, you know, your Summoner's Arts or your Scouts, you know, you got another form of search power right here, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And any deck that is efficient enough to search its deck for whatever it needs to be able, in order to make successful plays and win games, is a deck, in my opinion, that can do very well, much like Spellbooks was. They had so many search cards. They had Crescent, Secrets, Blue Boy, you know, Master to copy the secrets. They could just search for days. And that's what made the deck really consistent, really efficient, which, you know, this deck is. And pretty much every monster on here you could just normal summon without tripping. So even if you do open a brick hand of all these monsters, it's not that bad, because you could just go ahead and summon them on the field, an 1800 beater. With this card, you go ahead and equip it to it, you know, it gains 300 attack, and it can't be destroyed by battle. So you can kind of just sit on it, and when it gets destroyed, this card is sent to the graveyard. So even if you manage to bounce one of these back to the hand, or, you know, send it to the extra deck, because I mind you that none of these cards get sent to the graveyard when they're destroyed, except for the QLIPHORTS Towers. So, and a lot of players are setting this card in the Spell and Trap zone, like, so it gets MST, they can just plus off it, and they just search any Qli card, again, and it's just absolutely amazing. Now, the Laser Clip field spell, I see this card becoming a better card to play next format when you're playing cards like Assembler and Colonel, because you'll get an additional normal summon, which obviously means you can tribute more monsters and draw more cards off the Assembler, which is a little sort of combo we'll get into later. And the Perform Impel Trampolinix, I forgot to mention, but obviously if you have this and your Scout, you can go ahead and Pendulum Summon a huge board, bounce the Scout back to your hand, and then play it again, pay another 800, and search another Qli card you need. So you could Pendulum for a huge board, search out a Towers or a Disc, you know, summon that out. Disc will special 2 more, or you have this invincible beast mode of monster of destruction that you basically have to fold under, because not too many decks have the answer to it. And to top that off, they're playing cards like Vanity's Emptiness and Skill Drain, and this deck is not hurt by Skill Drain whatsoever because none of their effects can be negated. Towers is unaffected by trap cards, so he's not affected by Skill Drain. And these ones here, if you negate their effects, they just become bigger beaters. They're more like Beast King Barbaros. Like, you know, you can normal them out at 1900, but once you flip Skill Drain, you just normal summon a 3000 beat stick, which is obviously just a huge advantage. And then you can pendulum summon for your huge board, and then just flip this, leaving your opponent in a very, very, very tight position. Now the deck, you know, as is right now, does have some flaws, because game 1 could be very difficult, but game 2 and 3 can be very easy by siding, you know, several cards, you know, Spell and Trap Destruction cards like Dust Tornado, Twister, Mystical Space Typhoon, and cards to get rid of their monsters completely, like System Down, which banishes all machine-type monsters on the field and in the graveyard for the cost of 1,000 life points. Obviously, they don't use their graveyard, but it's good just to clear a huge field at, you know, at a low cost of 1,000 life points, which can be a very helpful card, and I like to side it for the QLIPHORT matchup, and I find it very useful. But obviously, the triple MST, the Twister, the Dust Tornado, you just want to be able to get this card off the field as fast as you can, because the longer you leave this on the field, the more and more chance you have of losing that game right then and there. But this next format, if we do get this card right here along with this new set, you know, the new set will be consisting of a Pocketport Colonel. Basically, he's level 9, he's now level 10. Much the same as Towers, but during, once per turn, you can just change of heart one of your opponent's monsters, and it can attack, you can tribute it, you can do whatever you want with it, there's no restrictions on it. 2900 beater, it's going to be absolutely incredible. I can see the deck, you know, playing at least one Towers and one Colonel with the laser clip, because, you know, there's a possibility you could drop this one and this one. You know, you need a field of 5 monsters and the sacrifice, and obviously you'll tribute your entire board. You'll still get to search off this, you'll have this, and possibly stealing one of your opponent's monsters. So it's just pluses for days. You do have the QLIPHORT Alias here, which will be sort of a similar card to Disc here, in my opinion, the way most players might be tribute summoning for it. But basically, when this card is tribute summon by tributing a Klee monster, you can target one card on the field and return to the hand, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this. So basically, it's a super poly. Now, what can be really good about this is that you could basically just target your own scout and bounce it back to your hand. Now, the nice thing about your opponent not being able to activate cards in response is that they can't chain MST to this, so that effect might just fizzle because you've destroyed the scout and they won't have any targets for the alias to bounce. But since you can't activate anything in response, they're basically going to bounce that scout back to their hand, and it is a low scale. It's a 1 and a 9. So obviously, you know, you can just bounce back the scout, play the scout again, pay another 800 life points, and just keep on searching. Now, Access, I think, is going to be a very, very good card, you know, along with all of these. But basically, when this one is tribute summoned by tributing a Klee monsters, while you have while your opponent has more monsters in the graveyard than you do, you gain life points equal to the current monster surplus times 300, and if you do, inflict the same damage to your opponent. So basically, this effect will always work because you won't have any monsters in your graveyard if you're playing this deck correctly. So you're most always going to be burning your opponent for lots of damage, and you're going to be gaining lots of life points, which basically, you know, helps you out with that scout searching. You know, you can keep gaining life points to keep paying the 800, keep paying to win, and it's going to be really good in the upcoming meta, because we'll still have Shaddoll, we'll still have Burning Abyss, you know, Satellar Knights, and they kind of like to keep their graveyard somewhat loaded, so you're still going to be burning for a decent amount of damage with this card. And then last but not least, the QLIPHORT Assembler. This card is going to be absolutely incredible. It is a low scale 1. So basically, whenever you tribute summon a monster this turn, basically you can draw a number of cards equal to the number of Klee monsters you tributed for a tribute summon, which can be up to 5 cards in one turn. Drawing 5 cards in one turn, guys, that's absolutely insane. So not only do you get to Pendulum Huge Board, tribute for these 2 insane monsters, plus off your sacrifices, you know, however many you have, because not to mention that does count for 2 tributes from this for the tribute of a clean monster. You'll get to search 2 more cards, 3 more cards, whatever, and then draw 5 cards. Guys, this is going to be absolutely insane. I have no doubt in my mind that this deck will become tier 0 if they, you know, they dodge the ban list, which I think they will because they're a brand new archetype, brand new way to summon cards, you know, and I think Burning Abyss might get hit by this upcoming ban list. I feel like maybe Dante might get hit to 2, they might bump down Tour Guide back to 2, they might hit Fire Lake. There's a number of cards that they could hit, you know, to the deck, and I don't feel like they'll kill the deck like they did Dragon Rulers or Spellbooks. You know, they'll ban all the baby dragons, hit all the big dragons in one. I don't feel like they'll crush the deck like that. However, I feel they might hit a few tech cards here and there, and basically that is, you know, their new monster lineup. But this card right here, Pendulum Moratorium, basically this is a quick play spell card that says this turn cards in the Pendulum Zone cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Also, when any opponent's card effect resolves that targets a card in the Pendulum Zone at activation, negate that effect. So basically, if your opponent wants to try to do anything to your scales, you can just flip this and they'll stay. And that is fixing a major problem that this deck has, you know, to cards like Fairy Wind, which my apologies, I forgot to put in the side deck area. Fairy Wind, let me just go ahead and search that card up real quick. Fairy, okay, you can't see. Fairy Wind, where is it? Right here, Fairy Wind. So basically, destroy all face-up spell and trap cards in the field. Both players take damage equal to the total number of cards destroyed by this effect times 300. This card is an amazing side deck card against QLIPHORTS, and the card has jumped up in price from about cents to about like $5 or $6. And very good side deck card. And this card just says no to that, and it says no to MST, you know, Twister, Dust Tornado, everything like that, because it's quick play, spell card. It's going to be absolutely amazing card for this deck. It will fix a lot of problems. And then, you know, we do have the Pot of Wealth here that's, you know, shuffle into the deck a total of 3 Pendulum monsters that are in your graveyard and are face up in your extra deck, then draw 2 cards. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect, except by Pendulum Summon. So basically, you can still special summon whatever you want that turn if you're playing QLIPHORTS. I really only see playing one of these cards because, you know, most of the time your extra deck might not be too full, especially if you're Pendulum Summoning for a huge board every turn. The only things I see in there will be your Scouts, possibly your Aliases, maybe in the next coming format, and your Odd Eyes, and then you could just shuffle those back into the deck, obviously, to, you know, keep up draw power. But this deck is going to have such amazing draw power, such amazing search power. You know, you might not need to play this. It could be a different variant of the deck, but, you know, this is still a very, very amazing card, and obviously, you know, they already have cards like Summoner's Art, you know, that searches out everything. The deck's so fast, it's going to be absolutely insane. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in the upcoming format. So, yeah, what do you guys think? I'm really interested in what you guys think, as always. So, what do you guys think about the QLIPHORT archetype? What do you think about the Pendulum, you know, summoning mechanic in general? Let me know in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. As always, guys, don't forget to subscribe to show your support. It's always appreciated, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Winner kills, and we'll see you later.